Hi everybody, Ninja Baller here, and today we are going to look at probably the most hyped up album, the album that everybody has been talking about, and probably the biggest album of the year, Megadeth, self-titled, the final album of thrash metal legends, world famous thrash metal band Megadeth, with their 17th and final album. I haven't got it on CD. Okay. Now, this album is rather interesting. And the reason is because that this has been a rather controversial album as of recent. This is basically Megadeth's Death Magnetic. What I mean by Megadeth's Death Magnetic is that Metallica's released an album called Death Magnetic, which is basically the same thing as Megadeth's self-titled album, where one side absolutely loves this album and one side absolutely hates this album. If you ask me, when it comes to Death Magnetic, I'm on the side that absolutely loves the album. And the same thing with this album right here, which I will give the rating in just a bit. But what I want you to do before you listen to this album is two things. One, listen to the first 5 Megadeth albums, including Countdown to Extinction, which is the shirt I'm wearing. And also listen to Megadeth's documentary Behind the Mask, so you can get a better idea of what Megadeth is all about and what this album is all about. Because I feel like that if people don't listen to the first 5 Megadeth albums and the documentary, they won't get this album as much as I did or other Megadeth fans did. So just a quick fair warning. Here's the track listing and the tracks that have their ratings. I'd say my least favorite was Another Bad Day, and my favorite was rather difficult because there were some pretty fantastic songs on this album, like Let There Be Shred, Tipping Point, Puppet Parade, and of course The Last Note. But I feel like my favorite from this album is probably Puppet Parade, because it did catch a lot of the feeling that the first 5 albums did have. Okay, this album does a pretty fantastic job of calling back to different albums on their songs, like Tipping Point, going through Megadeth's golden age, from catching the sounds of albums like Peace Out But Who's Buying and Rust in Peace. You also have Obey the Call, which captures a bit of the sound from Cryptic Writings, and also some of the golden age and some of the first 5 albums at the same time. You also have Hey God, which captures the sound kind of similar to Countdown to Extinction. I wouldn't say that there was a bad song on this album. Most people would point out songs like Another Bad Day, I Don't Care, and of course Ride the Lightning. But I'm here to defend those songs right now. Now, sure, the lyrics are very juvenile on of course, I Don't Care. But if you look outside of the really bad lyrics, the vocal delivery on the lyrics and the instrumental work itself isn't really that bad. Another Bad Day, I'd say, has a really great main riff. And also some other things that make it good. But the lyrics, I'd say they're not the worst, but I can confidently say I've seen better. And I'm rather debating on whether to include the Ride the Lightning cover on this review because it's a bonus track. And because it's a bonus track, it doesn't really do too much with the album's like story or the album itself. It's just there. Megadeth is no stranger to bonus tracks, especially in the sick, the dead, and the dying. So because that Megadeth has done bonus tracks before, for the sake of this review, I'm going to talk about it. Now, a lot of people don't like this track because it just tries to add fuel on a Megadeth's dying Metallica rivalry by just saying, "Oh, Dave Mustaine is still mad at Metallica because he got kicked out of the band, so he just put the song in so he could just dump on Metallica just one last time." But it's actually the complete opposite. This is where the Megadeth documentary Behind the Mask comes into play. The documentary showcases the behind the scenes, or at least Dave talks about the behind the scenes of each track on the album, and also the behind the scenes of each album leading up to this one. Oh yeah, and in case you guys don't know, Dave Mustaine also hates Risk as much as we do, so there's one thing I have in common with him. And correct me if I'm wrong, because it's been a week since I watched the documentary. I watched the documentary as soon as it came down with my dad. Very fantastic documentary, by the way. If it comes out as streaming services and you're a massive metalhead like I am, then make sure you take a look at that documentary, because that's a fantastic documentary. When talking about the Ride the Lightning Ride the Lightning cover, Dave Mustaine intended to give back to not just Metallica, but the whole metal community in general. It's not like he was trying to add more salt to the wound. No, he was trying to give back to Metallica, because if there was no Metallica, there was no Megadeth. Correct me if I'm wrong, but he said something similar to that. The song itself, it does a good job with basically thinking, oh, what if writing but Megadeth? I think it does a good job with basically being a Megadeth version of Ride the Lightning. Okay, now for the review itself. The rating itself. Now, the rating, I'd say, is a little complicated. What this album, if I don't go off of what this album stands for, I'd say it would probably be a light 7. However, there is one more silver lining to this album. This album ran on controversy. What is Megadeth? Controversial. Megadeth has always been a divisive band. No matter what, if you're talking about their early days, their low points in their career, like in Risk, Megadeth has always been a controversial band. So releasing an album that is rather controversial is a rather fitting end to their careers. So because of that, instead of giving this like a light 7 to a decent 7, I'm actually gonna go with a strong 7 to a light 8 on this album. I know I'm probably gonna get a lot of backlash saying, "Oh, this is recency biased, 100% recency biased." No, this is not recency biased, like at all. Before this album came out, I listened to The Sick, the Dead, and the Dying, and I gave it like a 65 out of 100, or if we're going from Fantano's ratings, which I am using, a decent 6, which that was the most recent album up until until this album came out, and I gave that a rating that is much different from this rating right here. So no, it is not recency bias like at all. So yeah, that is my review on Megadeth's self-titled album. If you want to recommend me any albums, whether it's metal or not metal, maybe in the comment section down below, maybe I might take a look at it. So anyways, make sure you like, subscribe, send this video to a friend, and I'll see you guys later. Goodbye.